All right, welcome everyone to our webinar today, Building Your Child's Emotional Toolkit. We are going to be recording today's webinar, so if you join us late or if you know someone who wanted to see the webinar today but wasn't able to make it, we will be posting the link to the recording later today. Please mute your microphone and turn off your cameras. We'll be having a Q&A session at the end of our presentation today, and we'll be using the chat feature. So at the bottom of your screen, you see the little chat bubble. If you have questions that come up during the presentation, feel free to type them in there, and we will get to as many as possible. So that being said, I would love to introduce our speaker. This is Haylee Bladen. She is a licensed clinical social worker and the owner of Whole Kids Emotional Wellness Clinics. They have several locations across Utah, and she specializes in the treatment of anxiety, depression, trauma, and self-esteem issues in children and teens. Haylee and her team of therapists have worked with thousands of kids and teens in therapeutic settings, as well as through Whole Kids school-based programs and after-school clubs. She believes in emotional wellness for everyone, and it can be fun, and that it helps to prevent future mental health problems. Haylee is also a mom to 3 little girls, one of which has Down syndrome, and so she's got a close connection to our community and is actually a member of United Angels Foundation. So we are so pleased to have Haylee here today, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn off all of my stuff and turn this over to you, Haylee.
All right, thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen. If someone can give me a thumbs up when I'm in. Oh, I think we're there. Awesome. Okay. Can someone give me a thumbs up if you can see this? I can't see anybody's faces.
It looks good. Looks
good.
Okay,
Great. Well, I'm so excited to be here. Like it was mentioned, I have 3 girls. One of them has Down syndrome. She's almost 4. So throughout the presentation, I'm going to be sharing some things that work really well with clients at our clinic, but also some things that we do around our home and emotional wellness tools that we use at home as well. Now, I wish I could help everyone with their kids' unique needs, because we know all of our kids are unique, our kids with special needs and our typical developing kids. So I'm hoping that you'll find something throughout the presentation that can help you with all of your kids. So let's get going. Let's get started. So building your child's emotional toolkit, we're going to talk about emotion regulation. So what does it mean to be able to regulate emotions? It's learning to handle strong reactions to feelings and finding ways to express emotions more effectively and less disruptively, right? That's what we want, than having a total meltdown. So I want this for my kids. I want this for your kids. This is what we do at our clinics and in schools, is help kids have a better understanding of their emotions and how to bring down those intense feelings and how to make good choices despite having difficult feelings. So let's talk for just a minute about school. I know there's a lot of anxiety going on out there about school, and some of you had written questions in about your kids or your teenagers or even your young adults that are worrying about school and maybe not understanding some of the rules that will be happening and how school will look. So we know it's going to look and feel different this year. And we've seen a really high increase in childhood anxiety in our clinics. We are actually very busy, as you can imagine, because there's this big push for mental health awareness right now, but many people are struggling. Parents are struggling at home with how to manage this new schedule. I know the lockdown was really difficult, especially for families with kids who have special needs. And so we're just kind of trying to figure this all out together. But many kids don't understand the why behind the mask thing, social distancing. I like this little picture right here to kind of help explain to some of your kids about why we are doing the things that we're doing. Now, we know kids are so receptive and perceptive to what's going on in our homes. And depending on, the type of home that they're living in right now, they may have heard some scary things about COVID-19. So we really want to kind of change the narrative at home, especially when our kids are around, to not use language that will scare kids, because I know with anxiety going up, they're worried about all sorts of things about COVID. And so one way that I think would be a great idea, explaining to your kids why we're wearing masks or why school looks different, is kind of the same as, if you're talking to kids about why they need to wear a seatbelt. We put our seatbelt on in the car to be safe. It doesn't mean we're going to get in an accident. It just means that we're protecting ourselves just in case something happens. And so you could use this analogy with your kids as far as, why are we wearing masks at school? Now, every district is different, and I know they're making accommodations and different exceptions for kids with special needs. I know our district is. But teachers, whether they're wearing face shields or masks, we just want to make sure that we're teaching our kids that they are safe, and that we're doing this to help protect everyone, because there's a sickness out there that people are getting sick from, and we're just taking precautions, just like you would wear a life jacket as you're going boating. And so we can prepare them by practice and open conversations. And when I say open conversations, I don't mean tell them everything scary that's going on. I just mean have frank conversations like that we're protecting ourselves from getting sick or protecting our friends. I know somebody wrote in about their kids not quite understanding why they can't hug or touch. And so my suggestion would be, explain the why, but then maybe come up with an alternative. So I know you can't high five your friends or hug your friends or your teacher, but let's come up with a secret little sign that you can give them, or hold up a little heart when you want to hug them, or just some alternatives to help them show love, but keep everybody safe. So I know this is on everybody's minds, and I'd be open to hear your suggestions and what's kind of working for you guys with your kids and explaining to them about that sort of thing. Okay, so let's talk about the basics about feelings. When we have a child or a teenager come to our clinic, or we're working with them in a school, one of the first things we do, besides gathering information from the parents, is kind of assessing where they are on their emotional knowledge scale. So do they know the basics about feelings? And it obviously depends on the age of the child, the developmental level, if there's special needs or anything like that. So we want to just pay attention to what our kids know and start educating them early. So here's some of the suggestions that I do with clients and even with my kids at home, just to start building that emotional language. So one thing I really like are feelings flashcards. Now, I prefer, and I know my presentation has some little cartoony type kids with different faces, but I really prefer the pictures of children or adults that are real. So not just cartoons, but real faces that kids can recognize in others, and start there. Maybe just start out with a few different, especially if you've got little kids, start out with a few basic feelings and then build from there, and just start to build that vocabulary. Another thing, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I know you can order some on Amazon, but you can make your own, cut out from magazines, or just print them out on the computer. Another thing that you can do is play feelings charades. And one suggestion is just writing a bunch of different feelings down on bits of paper and putting them in a bowl and drawing them out. Or if you have kids that are more visual or aren't able to read, is use those same feelings flashcards and just practice acting things out to see what they know. Another thing that we do when we work with kids who don't have a very large feelings vocabulary yet is use video clips. So we'll pull clips from the movie Inside Out. I love that movie. I think it's a great way to teach kids about their emotions and kind of what goes on in the external world and what is happening in their internal world. So we'll pull up those videos that kind of explain the emotions on YouTube. Another thing you can do is, as your kids are watching their shows, kind of sit with them and talk about, just open up to have those conversations of, I wonder what this character is feeling, or what do you think they're feeling, and open up conversations there, just so they're noticing, bits and pieces throughout their day. If you've got younger kids, I really like Daniel Tiger because that's a good place to start. They do a really good job, I think, of explaining scenarios for feelings, but then also that it's okay to feel those feelings. The next suggestion is drawing out their feelings. So if you have a child that comes home or a teen that's had a really difficult day, you know, and they slam their backpack down and they're stomping through the house, instead of, you know, pick up your backpack, why are you stomping? Just sit down with them and say, hey, it seems like you're not feeling very great. Let's talk about it. Or can you draw it for me? And see what they come up with. Sometimes children's drawings or kids or even teens, their drawings have so much information that you can pull from as a way to talk about things. So let them explain that. You can also just practice drawing feelings faces or things like that. Another suggestion is feeling question cards. So just having a stack, and you can make these up on your own. At our website, on our website at the end, we have a free pack of printables that you can even download that have some free question cards. But I mean, Pinterest is a great place where you could find some of these, but just little questions to start opening up the conversation about their feelings and just making that a part of your language at home. So that's kind of where we start. Once we have those basics, we can dive a little bit deeper into kind of exploring their feelings. I think this is really important. Now, we all grew up in different homes where feelings were talked about in different ways. Either they were talked about or they weren't. I know with my husband's family and my family, we did things very differently. My family was very vocal about how we felt. His family, not so much. And so we've made it a point that in our home, we talk about our feelings and we give permission to feel those feelings, no matter what they are, because we want our kids to know that feelings aren't good or bad. It's what we do with our feelings that matter. So in our home, we feel all feelings, and this is a good thing. It means we're human, and sometimes we're frustrated, sometimes we're mad at siblings, sometimes we're tired or cranky, but we work hard on managing those and our actions and learn to bring the level down. So I'll show you guys what I'm talking about as far as bringing the level down. So over here, you can see a little thermometer. We're going to use a thermometer as an analogy for how intense our feelings are. And this is something that we do in therapy all the time, especially with kids who have gone through traumatic experiences. We learn to rate the scale of our feelings there. So we'll get into that. So what level do you feel your feelings? This is a little worksheet that we have, and we talk about big feelings and small feelings. So with big feelings, we can feel any type of feeling at a level 5, or we can feel that itty bitty small at a level 1. So as far as big feelings go, Disneyland or Lagoon or something like that for our kids may be a level 5 of excitement or happiness or something like that. But we can also feel uncomfortable feelings at a level 5. So maybe losing a pet or something that's been really hard on them. I mean, even COVID-19 shutting down schools and things like that, that's been a big loss, especially for our kids who are really involved with schools and teachers and their therapies and different things like that. So you can rate both types of feelings, comfortable and uncomfortable feelings, on this thermometer. You may have a child that wakes up one morning and they're saying, Mom, you know, or Dad, I am feeling happy at only a level 1 or 2. And then you can open up the conversation and say, oh, okay, well, yesterday you were feeling happiness at a lot higher level. Let's talk about what brought it down, or why does it feel so small? And what can we do to make the happy feeling be bigger? Or, you know, maybe they're angry and they're at a 3, and we're going to work to bringing them down to a 2 or 1. So that is the point of the feelings thermometer. The next thing we like to use is what's called a feelings weather map. So we talk about feelings in all different ways, but one way to do that is using it in weather terms. So some days we wake up and we feel like it's sunny and inside of us, and we feel happy and glowing and we're excited. But other days our feelings just come rolling in like a tornado, and it feels really twisty and yucky inside, and we can't quite figure out why. Sometimes it feels like thunder and lightning, and we're cranky and there's lightning bolts coming. So this is just giving kids another way to describe that. I like using the water analogy and the waves, because sometimes our feelings are so strong that they feel like we're going to be washed away. This overwhelming wave of emotion crashes over our shoulders and just feels like it's going to be there forever. And so this is a good example of things you can do or use, and get creative with your kids. See what they come up with. Maybe there's other things that they'd like to use as far as weather goes. Okay, talking about our brains. This is so important. And at our clinics, we teach our kids and teens that we work with about their brains near, on the second or third session, just because it's so important. And it gives them a way to, it's a quick analogy that they can use and tap into whenever they have problems. And it's a great way to understand themselves. So this is from Dr. Dan Siegel, and he's written a really great book called The Whole Brain Child. I love this book. I actually saw that they had a free audiobook version of this on YouTube. So, as you're washing dishes or whatever, even at night, when you have some free time, you can listen to this quickly. But he has a really good analogy, and it's with the hand. So I'm going to show you, because this is a good way to teach your kids about their brain. So we have an upstairs brain and a downstairs brain. First, let's talk about the upstairs brain. So the upstairs brain is where the thinking takes place. This is thinking, planning, self-awareness, self-monitoring, and decision-making is right up here, the frontal cortex. And this area is still under construction until the mid-20s. So we expect a lot out of our kids, but we also have to realize, in general, that their brains are not fully developed. And even our kids that have special needs or disabilities, we don't know for sure what's going on all the time and when this part is being developed. And so we want to keep that in mind, that it's still under construction. They're still learning. So then we have the downstairs brain, and this is called the amygdala. And it is the part of our brain that does a lot of the feeling. It monitors threats, keeps us safe from danger, expresses emotion. And this is kind of the area where, when uncomfortable feelings arise, it sounds the alarm. So this is kind of the warning center. This is the part of your brain that's going to alarm when you're being chased by a cheetah or something like that. So our brains work best when our upstairs and our downstairs are working together. It's all important. There's not a good part and a bad part of our brain. It's all working together. We need this whole house to function properly. So we build the staircase by problem solving and teaching skills. So that's what's going to help us with our kids, is teaching them problem solving skills, and that will build and put their brain together, which is great. So we need to look for those opportunities where we can teach and practice to make their full brain come together. We'll talk more about this. Okay, so what does it mean to flip your lid? So flipping your lid is when the top part of the house comes off, it comes apart. This is when the downstairs brain takes control, and it's hard to think clearly or calm down. Now, I know this happens to me. It happens to adults. It happens to everyone. So this is the alarm center of the brain, like I had mentioned. And it's not bad to be in the downstairs brain, but it takes over, and this part, it's not connecting. So this is when we don't really know what to do with our emotions. You may see tantrums, yelling, panic attacks, angry outbursts, other behaviors like that, even with adults. So I'll tell you a story about me, because I'm not ashamed to say I flip my lid. I think we all do. Our 3, almost 4-year-old daughter with Down syndrome, we have a tangle problem. Well, it's actually 2 of my 3 daughters. We have a tangle problem. We get really bad tangles in our hair, and it is a pain to get those out. It's a lot of tears. It's a lot of hard times. And so the other day we were working on a tangle, and there was a lot of crying and stress, and I flipped my lid. I had to walk out of the room. I just said, I can't do this. I got to take a break. And I left the room. But I noticed my 6-year-old was watching me. So I thought, okay, I got to do this strategically. Even though I'm stressed out, even though I'm angry, I need to model some good behavior for her. So I asked her if she'd like to come downstairs with me, and we walked outside, and I sat down, and she kind of moved on to doing something. But I explained to her, I'm just a little bit stressed out. This tangle problem is really annoying. It's really hard. So I'm just going to take a break. So what I did is I sat myself down and I did some up down breathing, which I'll show you guys in just a minute, because I knew that she was watching, and I wanted her to see me calm down so that she could learn to do that on her own. And so it's okay to flip your lid. It's great to be able to have those conversations. Mom really freaked out. Her lid flipped, but guess what? She's back calm and centered, and everything's good now. And then we were able to get through the tangles, and everything was fine. But it happens. So when this happens, when you see your kids in this space, we want to connect and redirect. So we want to share empathy. So feeling for what they're feeling. I notice you're really struggling here. Let me see if I can help you. Offering hugs and comfort. We know some of our kids do not want to be touched when they're in that amygdala cycle here. So we want to respect them, but we want to be there and comfort them if we can. And then we're going to use distraction and calming techniques to help with the intensity. We want to get them back upstairs. So we want the lid to slowly come down and all of this be connected. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. All right, so for the rest of the presentation, I'm just going to focus on some easy things you can do with your kids to calm that amygdala, and strategies you can take for when the lids are flipped. And you know what? A lot of these things work for us adults too. So, okay, become a feelings detective with your kids. We want to shine light on what's going to trigger the lid flipping or the uncomfortable feelings. So I know for me, I could probably make a list of all the things that trigger difficult emotions in me, but the same can be for our kids. Not that we want to sugarcoat and pad and make their life soft and cushy all the time, because getting through difficult things shows them they can do it and gives them confidence. But if we know, then we can prepare ahead of time with a plan. So this is the importance of having an emotional toolkit. All right, I'm just going to briefly touch on transitions. Now, I am not a transition expert. My own kids even struggle with transitions sometimes. This is totally normal. But oftentimes transitions are what cause that flare up of the big emotions, that cause the lid to flip. So we'll talk about that just briefly. So if transitions are causing big emotions, like going to school, to or from school, stopping playing a game, screens are a big one, for other reasons too, but screens we have a lot of parents having a really tricky time getting their kids off of screens. Homework, little battles like that. If those are tricky, then there's a few things you can do. And I'm pretty sure there was a webinar that was done about working on those types of behaviors. So I'm just going to briefly touch on this. But my suggestion is start with baby steps. So start early. If you have a kid that is just so hard to wake up in the morning, start early, prepare. Practice transitioning away from the things that they're occupied by. You can set timers. You can practice little things here and there for 2 to 3 minutes. We're going to practice turning over your video game controller. Let's practice that. Let's do that for 2 or 3 minutes so that when I say it's time to stop, you know how to give it to me. Lay out exactly what's expected and go over scenarios if you need to. So I really like social stories. You can create a social story surrounding the behavior that you're trying to work on. Even your kids could draw that with you, or you can make it on the computer and print it out. Have a reward in place if you need to, and praise them for the positive. So, wow, you put down your game the first time I asked. You really know how to listen. And then ask them how it feels for them. We want them to start noticing when they do something that is right. How do they feel for doing that? And so then it kind of becomes inherent. It becomes a part of them. They like that feeling of positive behavior. We want to help them feel successful. We want to set them up for even little baby steps of success to start building that resilience. So, if you have a child that has a really difficult time getting into the car seat or wants to do it themselves and be independent, maybe practice with a little reward once they're able to successfully get into the car seat without a tantrum. Maybe you have something ready for them. Maybe it's as simple as a Skittle or a sticker or something, a little activity they can do in the car. But start, just small rewards, and hopefully those behaviors will start to change. But it's all about practice. So I just wanted to touch on that because I know transitions can be really hard. Okay, this is something that we talk about a lot at our clinic, is that feelings come and go. And I actually really like this for me because I know I don't like to feel stuck in a feeling. So again, back to the water, back to the waves. Just like ocean waves crashing on the shore, our feelings come in and then they go back out. I had a moment where we were out of town in a really beautiful place, and for some reason I was just thinking about all the stuff going on in the world and the COVID stuff and just feeling overwhelmed by everything, and I felt really down. But then I reminded myself, I had to stop and, practice kind of what I preach and take a moment and say, okay, yes, right now I'm feeling really awful, but I know in a few minutes it's going to flow back out. I am not going to be stuck in this cycle forever. And sure enough, I got distracted doing something, and sure enough, in about 5 minutes, it was gone. So this is really powerful for our kids that are flipping their lids, or we like to call these emotional riptides at our clinic, when they're just circling the waters, stuck in this riptide, being tossed back and forth, just letting them know that, hey, hold on just a minute. This feeling is going to go away. You're feeling really overwhelmed right now, but it's going to go away. It's not going to be stuck here forever. And keeping that in mind too when you're dealing with a really difficult tantrum. And I know with our kids, we all experience different levels of difficulty and tantrums and hard things. So just keeping that in mind, that the feelings, they don't stay forever, just like bad days. Okay, so model the behavior you want to see. One day I was feeling frustrated about something with work, and my daughter, my 6-year-old, she gets to see a lot of the dealings with with my staff and just different things going on in our office, especially now that we're working from home. And she's like, Mom, you seem really frustrated. And I said, you know what? I am. I'm frustrated with something, but I know in a few minutes I'm going to feel better. So you can practice this too. Right now I feel angry. I know I will feel happy again soon. You need to be that example, or we need to be an example of healthy coping for our kids. And that's just developing that emotional language again. Labeling what you're feeling gives your kids permission to label what they're feeling as well. Okay, let's talk mindfulness. I hope you don't mind if I show you some, I'm all about let's get some real skills that we can implement. So I hope you don't mind if I show you some of these activities that we do with the kids and the teens in our clinic. These are really helpful. So mindfulness just brings our awareness back to the present moment. Things can be so distracting, and there's so much, calling for our attention all the time, that we just really sometimes need to tap into the now. And so what we'll do with our clients is we'll do some of these fun little mindfulness activities. The first one that we do all of them, but the first one I'll tell you about today is the butterfly tap. So this is all about bringing your kids back into their space, back into their body, so that they can notice what's around them. So all you do with this one is you put your hands on your opposite shoulders. And if you guys want to do this, you can. If you've got kids watching, go ahead and do that. And they're just going to pretend like there's a butterfly kind of giving them a hug on their chest. And then you're just going to tap alternate shoulders. And do that. You know, you can do that for a couple minutes and you're not thinking about the stress. You're just tapping into your body. So butterfly tap actually can be really comforting too. And as they're doing this, they can even visualize what their butterfly looks like, what its name is, what it's telling you. With teens, they may not want to do that. They may just want to kind of hear the sound that it makes and kind of notice that. But that one's butterfly tap. Another one that's really fun that we like to do is hot chocolate breathing. So what we'll do is we'll have kids, you know, put their hands together and pretend like they've got a nice big steaming cup of hot chocolate. And there's marshmallows and you can kind of see them swimming around. And what they're going to do is they're going to breathe, or they're going to smell the hot chocolate. So breathe in anywhere between 3 to 5 seconds. So they're going to breathe in for 3, smell that hot chocolate, and then they're going to blow out on it to cool it down. So this is really steaming. We got to cool this down and make the marshmallows dance. So then what you'll do is you'll blow out. I like to have them blow out for 5. So in, smell it, and then blow out for 5. Cooling that down. And you'll notice they can even feel their breath on their hand. They'll feel their hot breath on their hand, cooling the hot chocolate down. But it's just another way to bring them back into themselves. And you can do this for as many cycles as you want. You could even do a bunch of these together if you wanted to. The next one, and the great thing is all you need for these are your hands. So every single one of these involve your hands. The next one is 5-finger breathing. So you just need a hand and you're going to go up and you're going to breathe in, and then you're going to go down and breathe out. So breathe in and out. And you'll just repeat that throughout the hand. If you want to do both sides, you can. If you want to just keep doing it multiple times. These are great things that they can do in the classroom. They can do these at school. They could, you know, if they're out in the hall taking a break or whatever, they can do this. So all they need is a hand. The next one is birthday candle. So what I'll usually do is ask kids, you know, how old are you? How old are you going to turn at your next birthday? And if they say 5, I'll say, okay, let's do 5 birthday candles and let's do 1 to grow on. So we're going to do 6. Ideally, you can do 10. But they're going to pretend that every single finger is a candle and they're going to blow all their candles out. And what you want them to do is when they blow out, you want them to feel that heat on their finger. So, and have them blow until it's hot and then the fire's out. So just have them repeat birthday candle breath as long as they need to. Again, with mindfulness, it's bringing you back into the present moment. And then the last one is up downs. There's so many mindfulness activities that we have and use, but these are the ones that I like. So up downs, easy. That's what I was talking about a few minutes ago about I wanted to do that. I wanted my daughter to see me doing that because I think it's a really easy one that she could pick up on. So with up downs, you're just breathing and letting it out. So breathe and let it out. But the pulling up and pushing down, there's something about that that's really relaxing if you get in a good groove. So those are just a few ideas that you can implement with your kids when that amygdala is firing, when the lid is flipped and they need to be brought back. We're going to talk about grounding exercises now, which are very similar to mindfulness exercises. Grounding is bringing your focus back to what's happening with you physically, or in your body or in your surroundings. So instead of being trapped by the thoughts in your mind or those feelings that are causing you anxiety or fear or sadness, we're bringing ourselves back. I've worked with a lot of kids, or teens mostly, who self-harm. And so grounding has been really important for them. I had one client who really liked this idea of getting their softest blanket and going and throwing it in the dryer for a few minutes, just so it's really nice and warm, and then wrapping themselves in it and feeling comfort that way, bringing the awareness and the sensation back into their body, but also feeling really cozy and comforted. Because who doesn't like warm things out of the dryer? I know I do. So she would do that. Another thing that I had a client who was self-harming is we tried to transition to a replacement behavior, but she really liked to knit. And so when she felt that urge to self-harm, she would get out her knitting stuff and she'd knit these cute little animals. And it was a great way to get that hands-on feeling, that body sensation that she was wanting to feel something, and putting her to work with her hands. So anything like that, it can be hot or cold showers. And obviously this isn't just for teenagers that are self-harming. This is for all of our kids. We can do these grounding exercises. So really hot, or not really hot, but hot showers or really cold showers, fuzzy socks, just walking around in fuzzy socks. Maybe they have a special object that they want to feel. Rubbing or petting an animal can be really soothing as well. So just kind of rubbing the fur and getting that sensory awareness there. I was working with another young client. She's a preteen, and her parents there was some turmoil at home. Her parents were about to go through a divorce, and she was not aware of that, but she could sense that something was going on and just feeling really awful. And we were meeting together, and she was just very tearful. She could not stop the tears and stop crying, and which it's healthy to cry, and we talked about that, but we weren't able to calm her down. And so we just did a quick grounding exercise where we looked around the room and she named 5 things that she could see, 3 things she could feel, 2 things she could hear. You can take that further into smell and taste if you want. But after that, she was fine, and she couldn't remember really what was happening before. And so it just brought her back to this place within her body where she could calm down, and we could focus on, solving the problem and talking about her feelings. So grounding exercises can be really helpful. And, another thing is just going out and laying on the grass and planting your feet on that grass, feeling that on your feet, and just breathing, looking up at the sky and breathing. That one is one that a lot of our teens like to do when it's nice outside. So those are some grounding exercise ideas. Okay, let's talk about conquer cards. I really like this. I use these with my 6-year-old, and I think they work really well. Sometimes I'll get a little bit of resistance from her on trying new things, or we'll have some anxiety about the doctor or the dentist in the past. And so what we do, and we do this with kids at our clinic as well, is when your kids or your teenagers do something hard, let's talk about it. Let's celebrate it. So many times throughout our lives, we get rewarded for perfect attendance or a soccer goal or things like that. But it's really those things that are difficult for our kids that they do that mean the most, that are big accomplishments, rather than just coming to school on time. Let's really celebrate that stuff that's hard that they tackle, because that is so important. So you can take an index card, you can make some on your computer, but we're just building that stack of cards and listing or drawing those hard things that they do. So we bought, for our Conquer cards at home, we bought a little felt pouch. I think it's a little heart shaped, and we got it at Target in the dollar section. And what we do is when she does something amazing or that's hard, we write it down and we put it in there so that when she's got to do something else that feels hard, she can prove it to herself. Well, I did this, I went to the dentist, I got a cavity filled, a shot, or, I went to dance class, whatever it is. I played soccer, or I was nervous to do that. They have that proof, that evidence. And so especially for kids that are anxious, Conquer cards are an awesome way to help themselves and learn to review that, just as they would review, an affirmation card or something. And then they have these really positive memories about what they've done. So with the school year approaching and kids going back to school, and there's maybe some worry about that or resistance, you could create a Conquer card for, I survived the first day, or I thrived, not survived, but thrived. I thrived the first day of whatever grade it was, and just start building up their confidence. The next thing is a self-soothing kit. You've probably seen these around. We like to make these at our clinic and in the schools that we work at. But this is just anything, sensory that will help soothe your kids. It's really important to self-soothe with newborn babies. When they're crying and they're flailing and kind of freaking out, what do? We wrap them up tight. We either stick a binky or a bottle, or they nurse, and we go into a dark room and rock them or shush them, turn on a sound machine, and that kind of brings them back and soothes them. And so why should we stop doing that as we get older? We all need ways to soothe ourselves when uncomfortable emotions come up. So at our clinic, we like to make a lot of these glitter jars, these mindfulness jars, and they're really easy to make. You just need a bottle, any type, with a lid, and you can use glitter and glue. Glitter glue works really well, and water, and you can put objects in there if you want, and you just shake it up and then watch the glitter fall, and that gives them a mindful moment to just kind of watch that fall. Other things you can put in a self-soothing kit are coloring pages, sensory toys. I know a lot of our kids that we meet with in therapy like fidget spinners, or those wiki sticks that are like kind of waxy. You can do Play-Doh, something that smells good. Sometimes kids just want to smell like an essential oil, something soft that they can rub or just kind of get that sensory input with. You can use affirmation cards. You can add photos of people that you love, or even animals, if they are really into dogs or something, cut out a bunch of pictures of dogs. Bubbles are really great, a book. So you can do anything with these self-soothing kits, but I would make one and just keep it nearby so that you can pull it out and be prepared for those lid flip times. All right. The next thing is an idea is to create a Zenden, or a calming space. So we have in my daughter's room one of those little teepee tents. And what we've done is we filled it up with fluffy pillows and just different things, blankets, stuffed animals. And in the pocket, there's a little side pocket, and we put coloring things and some books. And so that's a place where she knows she can go when she needs to calm down and get some space. So my suggestion is make it special, make it about them. And it doesn't have to be, a tent or a teepee. It can be made out of anything. It could be in a closet that you put a little pillow down in, or an outdoor space. Even behind a chair, behind a rocking chair or something with a blanket over it. Something that feels contained and safe, and ask them to help you, make it fun. So talk about, when can you use this space? How can they communicate that they need to go here? So if your child is nonverbal, how can they show you that they need a break, or is there a picture chart that they can use, or a card that they can give you that lets you know that they need a break? And then how long will they typically spend there? How long will they be able to be in their Zenden? So, for me, if my own kids are in a place where they're self-soothing in a healthy way, and just being quiet and mindful, man, I'm good with having them stay in there for a while. But you may have somewhere to go or something to do. So in times like that, maybe come up with a plan as far as how long, and kind of work on that transition out of the Zenden. But just their own little corner where they know they can calm down, especially when they flip that lid and that amygdala is just going. We want to make sure that we are allowing them a place to calm down, or doing something to calm down before we try and hash it out, before we try and talk things through in depth. Let's see. Okay, so my final tip is it's okay to rewind. At our home, we do a lot of redos. And this works really well modeling this as a parent. Say you're doing something and you kind of snap at your spouse. if your kids are there, and even if they're not, if your kids are there, it might be a good idea to say, okay, time out. I didn't like the way I acted right there. Let's do a redo. Can we do a redo? And then start over. It doesn't have to take long. It's just practice responding the way you should have, and letting them see you do that, because that's going to give them, again, permission to change their behaviors without judgment, without, getting in trouble. And you'll notice that they'll start to pick that up and they'll start to correct faster. So we do a lot of redos, and my 6-year-old has even asked before, can we do a redo, Mom? And I love it when she's willing to do a redo. So, and we don't have all the answers figured out, but it does really help. So, and then repeat. We know with all behavior, it's repetition for mastery. It's how we learn. We're trying to rewire those negative behaviors out of the brain and create new neural pathways. And so with that, we need to just repeat and keep trying. And I know some days it feels so hard and it just feels like it's not working and I don't want to try. But if we can stick with it, or if we've done that and it's not working and we want to try something else, go ahead, but don't give up. It's that repetition that really helps to rewire that brain and work on those new coping skills. So I think that's my last slide. Yeah, so I'd love to kind of hear your guys' ideas and what works in your home. I'm hoping that maybe some of these ideas sparked something that you could try. If you'd like to get in touch with me or learn more about our clinic, you're welcome to find us on our website. We're about to launch a new website, which I'll show you in just a minute, but this is our online membership subscription program where kids get monthly emotional wellness courses. We have a kids and a teens membership where they can learn through video lessons, some face-to-face lessons with a therapist, and then posters and printables. Anyway, so this one is about to launch, but if you have questions about our clinic, you can find us here or on Instagram or email me. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And then this is some info on our new program that is launching in September. So anyway, that's that. And I think if there's time for a Q&A, I'm happy to help if I can. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Haylee. We do have just about 10 minutes left of our time together. So if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask here, we welcome you to use the chat feature. There is a comment in here for you, Haylee. I love this page. And I'm from Taylor, how can I do this at my house and at my work? So that looks like some great positive feedback right there.
Oh, awesome.
And I'll just give you guys a moment to be able to type in any questions that you might have in the chat bubble right there.
And I'm realizing that I didn't answer some of the questions that wrote in. I know there was one parent that was concerned about their child possibly experiencing some trauma related to a loss in the family and some anxiety over that. And I'm hoping that some of these tools may help you to just kind of start that dialogue and that conversation. Everything that you mentioned in the question seems developmentally appropriate and normal for a loss, but counseling may be something that you want to look into if they're really having a hard time managing those emotions. I think that's the main question I had not answered. So.
Great, thank you, Haylee. We do have one question from the chat here. How do I make a Zenden at my work?
Oh, well, that depends on where you work. Now, a Zenden could be even in your mind. If you aren't physically able to escape, one thing we do with our clients is work on a safe haven, but we use it in our minds. So we'll draw it out on paper and then we'll mentally be able to go there in our minds when we flip our lids or when things are too hard. So If you don't have an actual space that you can go to a space created in your mind to just kind of meditate in that for a few minutes, or you can talk with your boss and see if there's a space that you could go to kind of calm down.
Thank you, Haley. Are there any other questions that you guys want to ask in the chat feature right here? This was a really thorough presentation. This was just great. I've learned so much from you watching this.
Oh, good.
Okay, we have a comment that this was great. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, and then Haley, we do have a question here in the chat. I have a daughter that has developed a lot of anxiety towards doctors and dentists. She is terrified of them, and it has made it extremely difficult to have non-sedated dental care. We've tried going when it's not her turn and just wait while siblings are there, but it doesn't help. She also has anxiety over academic testing. I'm not sure how to help.
Oh man, that is really tricky. It sounds like you've tried a lot of things. You can always practice, role playing. It sounds like you've tried to expose her to that by going when it's not her turn. I would kind of look into what is it exactly. Will she maybe verbalize or draw what it is specifically that she's scared of? Sometimes kids have seen something that scared them, or heard a story. I think a lot of times we want to be careful about things that are talked about around our kids, because sometimes that could be at the root. If there's been any type of traumatic experience at the dentist or any hard times that way. So I would do a little bit more exploration if she's willing to engage with you to kind of see what's at the root. Man, you're doing a really good job though. And then you said that she's got anxiety over what else did she say? Testing?
Academic testing, yes.
Okay.
There's a little bit of feedback here. She thinks it will hurt at the dentist or the doctor. We have tried just being with the doctor with Doc McStuff and stuff, but she's still terrified. And with testing, she shuts down completely.
Okay. Oh man, yeah, you're doing a great job. This is some really tough stuff. You may want to look and find a therapist in your area that could just do a couple sessions with her, and just to kind of get to the root of that. And therapists, have other tools. Sometimes it helps when it's not coming from the parent. I know I can reassure and reassure and reassure my kids, but sometimes they want to hear it from someone else. But I would say, that could be an option. Have you talked with the school as far as any accommodations go for the testing? Another thing is visualization work and preparing our minds before that kind of thing. With younger kids, you can do a lot of play therapy, so playing it out how you want it to go, things like that. So I don't know exactly everything that you've tried, but that is really challenging. I would see if there's somebody at the school. Usually there's a therapist or a counselor who could pull her out of class and talk about those things or help prepare her. There's a lot of things that they can do in the school that maybe we can't do, at home. So hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you, Haley. We have a comment here, just a thank you comment, and then another one here. This was super informative. Will this be recording? Oh yes, this recording will be available to view later. I will send the link out. I'm recording to the cloud here on Zoom, so it'll take just a little bit to process, and then I will send the link out for the recording. It will also be on our Facebook. I'll put a link there, and I'll put a link on our main website on unitedangels.org.
Awesome. And if any of you are interested in those online programs for your kids that they can just access from home, wherever, whenever, feel free to send me an email and we can send you info on the launch of that. And I know there's some free printables and posters and stuff like that that you could get ahead of time. So.
Okay, well, great. Haylee, I don't see any other questions coming in the chat here. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time to prepare this presentation for us and answer those specific questions that parents sent in. And we are just really grateful for you to help us out with this. It was a really informative presentation. And I would like to thank all of our parents who joined us today. As I mentioned, it will be available. So please, yeah, if you want to watch the recording later with your spouse, then we'll have that available in probably just a few hours later today.
Thank you so much. You guys have been great. And feel free to email me if you have more questions about your kids. I'm happy to, send you referrals for therapists in your area or suggestions, because I know as a parent it can be really tricky. So thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.